Hi guys, thank you for coming. If you want to come in and step in, sit down. I think it will be better for you. So my name is Alon. I am from TabTale. I'm based in Tel Aviv. I've been around in the gaming industry for quite a long time. Today, my goal is to talk to why go hyper. What I want you to do after this session is actually leave the room and go and develop a hyper casual game. That's my purpose. If I've done it right, you would do that. So, 2 minutes about TabTale. TabTale is a company that has been around for the last 8.5 years. We've built more than 500 games on our own, so we are a developer and a publisher. More than 2 billion downloads, as you can see. We've been very high at the charts. Thank you for my Up Any friends. As you can see, we are a company that has been ranked 8, both on Google Play and on Google Play and on iOS. So, just a background on the company. As you can see, when we started about 8 years ago, our audience was very young. We started building games mainly for toddlers. As our audience grew, we had to evolve and change and make sure that we are adapting and we're building the right games for our audience. So we decided actually, when we saw that the age is actually growing to be more teenage, we said, okay, what's next? What can we actually surprise our audience and give them something that would be interesting? And then, as you probably know, and I'll talk about it in a second, hyper-casual is something that has been around since 2014. We understood that our audience is very into that. Back then, by the way, we called it super casual. So we decided in the beginning of 2017 to start focusing more on hyper-casual. And it's been very successful for us since then, and this is why I actually wanted to talk to you about that. Our vision was to become a top 3 publisher for hyper-casual, and we are on the way to be there. So, what is hyper-casual? Let's talk about what is hyper-casual for a second. Hyper-casual, so everybody knows what's casual gaming. Hyper-casual, basically, I like the definition, which is easy to learn, hard to master. It means that when I give you a game of hyper-casual and I ask you to play, I usually don't need to explain anything to you. All right? It's a game that you take it, you immediately understand the way the mechanic works, and you start playing the game. Usually the gameplay is very short. We used to say that most of the hyper-casual games were endless, impossible, but now as the hyper-casual evolved, you actually see more level-based hyper-casual, etc., etc. Usually it's not a portrait game, usually you see a landscape game, usually it's a one-finger game. It's something very, very easy to build. That's why it's one of the reasons I want to try to push you today to do hyper-casual games. There's a lot of platforms that are very, very easy, even if you're not a developer. I'll talk about it in a second. So that's pretty much what hyper-casual is. A couple of things about hyper-casual that you should know. Hyper-casual is not about the whales. Hyper-casual is about the big or the small fish in the pond. So it means that when you're building a hyper-casual games, lifetime value is not going to be very high. It's not going to go to a few dollars or tens of dollars. Usually the lifetime value is very small. But when you build a good hyper-casual game, it means that a lot of fish are going to be interested in playing your game. And it means that you're going to have a very big user base that will give you a small amount of money per user, but you can hit the top charts and get to millions if you're building the right game. So one thing that I know that a lot of people assume about hyper-casual. They say, okay, hyper-casual is a great game, very easy to build. I can build it in a month, in 3 months, and then launch it. But then, you know what, everybody tells me, this game is not going to last for long, usually a few months, or a few weeks or a few months. So this is completely wrong, and I want to show you a couple of examples. The first one is a game that probably a lot of you played, which is called Helix Jump. As you can see, this game was launched at the beginning of 2018. But this game is a huge success, and it's been going very, very successful and still generating more than 1 million downloads per day. 1 million downloads per day. And have a look at at the top charts, the game has not gone below the 50 rank in the top charts for the last year. So it means if you're building the right app, you can still stay at the top, you can still be relevant, and you can get your game to be successful for a long time. This is an example from our game, which is called Run Sausage Run. As you can see, we launched it in December 2017, right? So as you can see in the charts, yes, in some point, we had to a little bit stop. But if you look at the last quarter, the game has gone growing again. And this game is going to last for a long, long time. It generated more than 60 million downloads, and we truly believe that it can get to the hundreds very easily. If you keep on investing in the game, you keep on working on the game, creating more content, and improving it. The other thing I wanted to show you is something that came out of mobile free-to-play. When you think about, okay, what is the next game I should focus on? Again, what I want to tell you is, look at those charts and look at what hypercasual. This is the number of games in the top 500 US downloads in 2018. And what you see up here is the hypercasual genre. All of the other genres don't have the ability to compete with the hypercasual. So if you really want to build a successful game, hypercasual is the game for you. The other thing that you can see, if you look at the top downloads game ranked by genre, again, there's no comparison between hypercasual and any other genre that you would think you want to build next. Okay, this is an example that I took from Christmas night. So these are the top charts on Christmas night in the US. Sorry, this is worldwide. So look at this. This is pretty amazing. Like 8 out of the top 10 games on Christmas Eve was actually hyper casual. Look at the charts. This is where you want to be. So that's why I want you to go out from this session again and go and build the next big hit. The other thing that people are telling me, okay, you know what, hyper casual is great, but this is going to go away. Right? So yeah, I don't know. People are playing hyper casual, but then they don't really like it because it's very simple, and that genre is going to go away. This shows you why the genre is not going to go away. Right? The genre started way back with Flappy Birds that started earlier in 2013. But look at those charts. Look what's going on right now. So last year, Helix Jump, Balls, Run Sausage Run, Happy Glass, Hole.io, Slither.io. These are crazy numbers. So 400 million, 37 million, 92 million, 71 million. These are the things that you want to do. So hyper casual, a game that you can build, and believe me that a lot of those games were built in less than 3 months. So if you still want to argue that genre is going to go away, look at these charts, and I think you're not going to argue that anymore. So everybody's asking, how do you do that? So I said at the beginning, TabTale has 2 hats. We are a developer ourselves, so we develop our own hyper-casual games, but we're also a publisher. What I wanted to share with you today is like a few tips and the story of how we do hyper-casual. So as I said, publishing and production. When we talk about publishing, these are the 5 things we look at. When somebody sends us a game, we try to see, or we look for something in the core game. Something in the core game has to give us a wow, the wow effect, what we call. Like, wow, this is a great game. This is a great core game. It has something in the game that would be super interesting. We are looking for innovative games. We don't want, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of copycats out there. I know that there was Helix Jumps, there was Run Sausage Run, other games. Everybody was trying to copy them. Try to be innovative. I'll talk about the yeah, but in a second. But when you send a game or when you build a game, try to be innovative. Try to think, we talked about the fish before. We're not talking about the whales, we're talking about fish. So try to go to a broad appeal. Sometimes we get great games, but they don't actually appeal to a broad audience. So when you build something, think about like age from 6 to 66. When I was young, I used to play the box games, and on the box you said a 9 to 99. Think about that when you build a game. Think about games that can go viral. So again, something that would get somebody to show some other people. And again, numbers talk. So whenever you have a game, the first thing that we do, we look at the retention, we look at the K factor, or how many organic users do you get for every user that you acquire. But this is pretty much the basic. If you do that and you get a good game, we'll be happy to publish your game, and a lot of other publishers will chase you and happy to do that. I want to focus about the production because I hope there's a lot of developers in the audience that think about, so how do you guys do it? How do you get a successful game? So I'll tell you basically, this is the story of TabTale, and this is the story of building a hyper-casual game. It means that when we look at a game, we want to make sure that the short production time. So if we are going to build a game that is actually going to take us more than 3 months, probably we're not going to do it. So it has to be a short production time, and short production time means short production value, right? So it's not going to cost a lot. And in a second, I want to talk about why is it important that it doesn't cost a lot. Then we want to be intuitive. I talked about it before. It needs to be a game that somebody holds it in his hands and no explanation. Everybody understands that. So when we give a game, or when our game designers, they come to us and they show us a game, if we don't understand it, we probably say it's really bad. I talked about the broad appeal. And then last but not least, I think Joey talked about monetization. Everybody wants to make money. Hyper-casual is all about ads at the end of the day. So when you build a game, think of where can I implement ads? How is it going to be implemented within the game? Because at the end of the day, we all want to make money. And if you don't make enough money, you wouldn't be able to go to the top charts. But this is the story. So please, you can take a photo of that, and when you build a game, think about those 4 pillars. When we build games, this is the way we start. So every week, we have brainstorming sessions. We sit down together, we come up with a lot of ideas. So I talked about hyper-casual, and hyper-casual, sorry, and I said about short production time and and something that doesn't cost a lot. Why is that important? Because it's a lot about trying. I would probably say that any hyper-casual game that you build, the first one, is not going to work. I even want to say that the second one is going to fail, and the third one is going to fail, and even the ninth one is going to fail. But because it's a very low production value, because it's a very low production cost, the idea behind that is try out, understand what's working, do a lot of brainstorming, think about what are the kind of games that you can do, build a lot of games, look at the numbers, understand what works for you, and then go to the next project. Once you find a hit game, then focus on that game. But you need to adjust, it takes time until you understand what works, what doesn't work. Of course, if you work with a publisher, they can help you a lot of understanding how to build the right game, what kind of things that you can do within the game to make it successful. But with us, every week we sit down, we do a brainstorm, we come up with pretty much around 6 to 10 ideas, then we vote. We have a pretty large team, about 10 to 15 people, and we vote of what is the next game that should work for us. When you think about building the games, I want to give you a few tips about how to build hyper-casual game. Hyper-casual games is all about the basics. I mean, I'm 48 years old, so I'm pretty old for this industry. But what I love about hyper-casual is hyper-casual is all about the basics. So the games that I used to play when I was a kid is the hyper-casual games of today. You go back to the simple game that I had as a kid. Think about those games when you want to build your next hyper-casual game, because that's what's going to work. Nothing has changed in the gaming industry. It's the same thing. It's just like today it's on the mobile, but when we were kids, what we loved as kids should work on hyper-casual if you do the right transformation. The second thing is, remember that I said before, be innovative. Don't try to copycat other stuff. So this is a great example of being innovative, but. So we all know Frogger, or hopefully some of you in the people know Frogger and used to play it. I used to play it and I loved it. And Crossy Road, which was a huge success and still a huge success on the charts, is pretty much the Frogger that we used to play. So again, thinking about the next game, go back to what we used to play. Think about what was fun when you were a kid. Think about the implementation, and this is a great example. Next thing I want to talk is about the basic physics, right? we talked about innovative. We talked about something that has the wow effect, something that gets you to be interesting. This is the example of the alpha version of what we did when we built the Run Sausage Run. So when we built that game, we actually didn't think about a sausage. We thought about a limbo, a dancer, something that works. So it started by our engineering, building this, what you see up here, as a test. But when we played it, we actually felt it's fun. And the layer of the sausage and the idea behind everything just came later. It came from an idea that I'll talk about in a second, but it has to be, the basic physics has to work. Something has to be fun. If it doesn't work on the basic physics, throw it away, move to the next project, because how many minutes do I have? 4. Great, I'll try to leave a few minutes for questions. So basic physics is super important. Last but not least, look at the world around you. I talked about the sausage. So the idea about creating a game that is actually based on food came from one of our game designers that he literally, these are pictures from his Facebook and Instagram. This is what he loves to do. If you have kids, you know that they don't like to eat sometimes. So he decided, he's a game designer and he's a game crazy guy that loves to play games. So this is really what he does. He builds games in food for his kids. And then when he came back, he said, this is what we need to do. Kids love to play with their food. Why don't we give them a game that is actually based on food? That's how we came up with the Run Sausage Run idea. Because I don't want to have time and I want to give you 2 or 1 minute for questioning, this is pretty much what we do. I talked about the fact that you need to build a lot of game, you need to try it out. So after identifying the concept, we have a few gates that if you don't pass those gates, a lot of the games that we start up here, they don't end up going live at the end of the day. Because we try to do prototype. If the prototype is not fun, we throw it away. We do a pre-production. We try to launch it, to do a soft launch. If it doesn't work, marketing. If it doesn't work on the user acquisition, we throw it away. So that's why hyper-casual, if you're an indie developer, if you're a small studio, if you want to get to the top charts, that's the way you should work. That's the way you should do it. And try as many games as you can in order to get to that. Because I'm running out of time, I'll skip those or the way that we work. And one last thing that I want you to take away from this session, on top of what I said before, is that, yeah, when the game releases, it's super fun, super happy, everybody's excited. But then, and only then, the hard work begins. So you need to understand, releasing the game is super fun. It's great when it gets to the top charts, but keeping it up in the top charts is really hard work. And you need to understand that you will need to continue working on the game, improving it, adding content, making sure the retention is still high, numbers are hitting it, LTV is still keeping high. So bear in mind, celebrate when you get the game out. 1 minute. Celebrate when you get the game out, but remember, that's when the real work starts. So, this is me. Questions? 1 question. We have enough time. Yeah?
How many, when you're into soft launch, how many players do you think is enough to be able to test it?
So it depends. Sometimes we do more than 1 soft launch. Usually it's a few thousand. It comes out between 2,000 to 5,000. Just to give you, it depends on what you actually want to measure. But if you want to measure retention, which is the number 1, usually the tool, it's between 2,000 to 5,000. You can start measuring retention. Do I have more time for one more question? One more question.
Do you use the alpha, the beta thing on Android for your soft launch?
No, it depends. We can do it on Android. We can do it on iOS.
Do you use the alpha, the beta?
Yeah, no, we don't. No. One more question.
How many games are you prototyping and what percentage is your hit rate of global launch?
Oh, I don't know the exact hit, but I can tell you that from the concept team until the end of until the game actually releases, it's usually less than 5%.
Hey, Alon, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Alon has been there. He's done it. Ask him questions. He'll be available outside the hall at the end.